Joe Christopher and Jeremy Plunk for another episode of Newbie Tuesday. And Jeremy, in Newbie Tuesday, we like to educate the fans on handicapping, wagering, and how to become a better fan. This week, we're going to talk about the role of the trainer. Obviously, a critical role in the sport of thoroughbred racing.
Yeah, a lot of emphasis is placed on the jockey because they're kind of a face on top of the horse that fans know about, and a lot of wagering dollars gravitate to the jockey. But the trainer's with the horse far more often and knows much more than any of the other connections. To me, the trainer's the most important part of the equation.
Let's talk about the job of a trainer, Jeremy, because it's kind of a self-defined role in that it's a trainer. They train the horses. They're with the horses, like you say, every morning. They set up an exercise schedule. They try to figure out the horse, both mentally and physically. They try to keep that horse happy and healthy. There are a lot of angles that go into doing just that, and a lot of other roles that a trainer must perform besides just working with the actual horse.
Yeah, think like a personal trainer with a human being. That person put you on an exercise regimen and point you in the right direction. But there's a lot of other people that go into the overall project in making you a better athlete or in making a horse a better athlete. The trainer's going to have a lot of help in that. But the trainer's role, not only in training the horses, but getting them in the right spots. And we'll talk a lot about that tonight and in the future here on Night School. The trainer's job of placing a horse in the right races is as critical as the morning training in a lot of cases.
So if you are the owner of a racehorse, you're going to pick your trainer to train that racehorse. And Jeremy, every trainer has a daily rate, the rate that they charge per day to train that horse. And there are a lot of things that are involved in that daily rate. The trainer himself, the people that work for him, the feed. Veterinary bills often are separate, but
Right.
there are definite expenses that are involved with the trainer and the owner when it comes to a racehorse itself.
Yeah, a trainer on a smaller circuit or a smaller scale may get $30 a day for a horse, $40 a day for a horse. On a bigger scale, you might be talking now in the $120 to $150 a day range for some of the top trainers in America. It's an escalating figure over the course of the past few decades, but it's a per horse rate. Each horse is its separate deal. I mean, there are no given contracts in horse racing. If the owner today says, I don't want you training my horses anymore, he sends a van over and moves them down the way. And so there are no guarantees. The trainers are working on thin ice all the time with the owner. That can involve a lot in their decision-making process in what they do.
Now, you mentioned the different scale of trainers when it comes to daily rates. There are different scales of trainers when it comes to the number of horses they have. When it comes to a Todd Pletcher or a Steve Asmussen or some of the bigger stables, they may have hundreds of horses spread out throughout the country with assistant trainers in different areas. Then you may have the trainer that only has one, two, five, even 10 horses. So there are different scales of trainers. There are different kinds of trainers. Some are very good with claiming horses. Some are very good with younger horses. And we'll talk more about that as we progress here on Night School. But a lot of different kinds of trainers with a lot of different sizes of the various stables that they have.
They're all running individual businesses, and some prefer a mom and pop grocery store, and some want to take on Walmart and be the biggest of the big. So it depends on the mentality of the trainer, their competitive nature, how corporate they want to be, and how they want to run their operation. Some trainers are more of hands-on horseman types. Others are running major corporations, and it's two different mentalities. And as a handicapper, you look at those kind of trainers in different lights in some respects on how the horses are placed and what they're doing with their horses in individual races.
Now, we talked earlier about, Jeremy, it is an operation. I mean, a trainer has an assistant trainer, someone that works even more hands-on with the horses. They have grooms and hot walkers, people that are responsible for maybe two horses in the barn where they maintain the fitness of the horse, they bathe the groom the horse, they walk the horse. Then there are exercise riders. Every morning, the horses go out to the track for exercise, whether it be a jog, a gallop, or a more serious workout. There's the veterinarian. And in some cases, there's even a stable manager who helps the trainer pick what races they think they should run in.
It's an entire team, and the trainers are working for that day rate, and they're also working for a percentage of the purse. Just like the jockey, the trainer's going to get 10% of the purse that they win in a race. So the trainer's got to win to make money. So it's a competitive operation. The day rate will only keep the head afloat. You've got to win races to make a profit, no doubt about it.
We've talked about a lot of different things that the trainer does, JP, but maybe the most difficult is dealing with the actual owner and keeping their spirits up and letting them know exactly how their horse is doing, but encouraging them as well, because sometimes it takes horses a longer time to get to the races. Sometimes horses win 3 or 4 races in a row, and it's the first time a person has ever owned a horse and they think this game is easy, which it's not. So the trainer must find that delicate balance when they're dealing with their owners.
Well, you know this, owning horses is expensive. So the folks who are owning horses are people who have been successful in other merits of business in other parts of their life. Successful business people want to see success, and sometimes you don't always get that at the races. A great trainer is going to win about 20% of the time. A fantastic trainer is going to be up in that 25% area. A good trainer is going to be about 15%. Any way you slice those percentages, that means you're losing far more often than you win. And can that owner losing more than they win, and how you deal with them in those relationships is the key to a good owner-trainer relationship.
And it all comes back to what you said earlier, which is in order to have that success, you have to place your horses where they belong, where the horses can be competitive. There is something called a condition book, which has all the races written that are coming up over the next few weeks. And Jeremy, the trainer, has to look through that condition book, see where the horses are eligible to run based on distance, class, ability, and where they're at physically. They have to enter those horses in the right spots in order to win the highest percentage of races.
Think of it like looking at a menu. You open up your menu and you see what's there. Sometimes what you want is not on the menu. You may have a 4-year-old who's eligible for a particular race at a particular distance, and there's not one coming up for the next 6 or 8 weeks. What do? Do you ship them out of town to another track? Do you run them in a spot where you may lose them in the claiming box? Do you just lay them off for 6 or 8 weeks and hope that they're fresh when they come back the next time to run? It's a very difficult decision because the classifications of races and the distances and stuff are restrictive in who can run in these races. So a lot of times you may have a good horse ready to run now and nowhere to run him.
They have to work with the jockey agents. They have to pick their jockeys. They have to have a relationship with these individuals. It's an entire team effort to get that horse from the barn to the winner's circle if you're a trainer. And Jeremy, most trainers are regionalized. Unless you're a huge operation where you're spreading horses all over the country, if most of your owners are in Kentucky, then most likely you're racing in Kentucky. If most of your owners are in Illinois, then most likely you're racing at Hawthorne and Arlington, and you're racing on that particular circuit. So you have to know which horses race well at which racetracks. There's so much involved in being a good trainer. We've talked about a lot of it here. We'll talk about a lot more of it during the course of this edition of Newbie Tuesday.
Yeah, and next week we're going to really get in depth with it, with the discussion of the trainers being the main topic for night school. We'll get into handicapping with trainer angles and percentages and all that kind of stuff next week as we get into it a little deeper.